Put your hands together and help me welcome Dheeraj Pandey.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. You make all this emceeing look very effortless, so it goes a long way, And thank you to all of you, from the bottom of our hearts, Manoj and I. We are humbled and honored to actually have the family come together. In fact, I said if you're going to do another entrepreneurial journey, it's got to be with family. And a lot of you actually have known for 10, 15, 20 years, including working with many folks for the last 10, 15, 20 years, who are actually part of, I can say hi to Sunil Potti, who's sitting right up there, and he's the master of storytelling. So, thank you, Sunil, for being here. I was going to say this is all family. My wife and our son are going to be here anytime now in the next 10 minutes. And I thought there's no better way for them to also know what makes me put all this effort and what does it mean to really do this for our customers. So what I want to talk about today is life, and this is our life right now. It's complex. We are in this pursuit of more software, more tools, more teams, more meetings, more emails, more Slack channels. Everything is more. And it's definitely a big struggle, especially in the last 3 years. We all come to realize how hard it is to actually work on Zoom. And yet, when we were looking back and said, what is it that the world really needs now? Is it more or is it less? And thinking about companies like that come once in every so often. You look at a company like AWS and Amazon. They said, look, you have a lot of more. You build data centers. You stitch a lot of things on your own. What if we left shifted all this? So this idea of left shifting was very important to us. If it means that we can actually take the most essential thing and make it simple for everybody around us. These are iconic companies. This happened with AWS. It happened with Apple. The idea of iOS was really taking a lot of complexity and saying, let's make it essential. Let's bring it all together. Let's integrate. Let's left shift. So what you'll hear from us today is about left shifting, a lot of integration. And that's why I feel like DevRev is the United Club. In my last company, many of us were here, ex-Newtons who are now part of DevRev. We went and united machines. We unified machines, and we made things simple. But we feel like there's a way we can actually go and unite departments and unite software and tools and workflows, which is one of the ways to really make things simple as opposed to seeing what you see out there. But before I start, I just want to tell a story of a startup. We start with the founder. There's an idea. There's some initial code. And it's a very pristine state to be in for a founder. Things are very simple, and it's elegantly simple. And then this company starts to grow, and growth creates complexity. And complexity is the silent killer of growth. So let's hear that story about this founder. So they're in unison, the idea, the code, the founder. Very quickly, they start looking at initial beta users, early users, will give them feedback. And there's real-time feedback. In fact, the last 5 to 7 years, collaboration has become that much more accessible using Slack and other things that people said, let's use Slack because I'm not just communicating, I'm collaborating with my end users. That happens. You start to hire some initial developer and designer. Still, there's a lot of real-time collaboration. We create these external channels, Slack Connect. We are doing real-time work with our customers. The essence of a product starts to emerge. It went from an idea to a concept to some initial write-ups to now there's a product. And maybe we hire an engineering manager, and therefore there's a need for managing work. And I'm going to call that engineering cloud. So the first cloud has emerged, which is the engineering cloud. And of course, we hire a couple of product managers. The founder wants to scale, and they're like, let's hire 1 or 2 product managers. And they are now beginning a little bit of this product cloud thinking. For the first time, they're actually hanging out separately, differently from the developers. The developers used to hang out right here. The product people are hanging out someplace else. They're planning someplace else. Some initial issues start to emerge. We're like, hey, let's get some fairly non-technical people who will at least start to field these questions coming from our customers. We call them L1 and L2 support agents. We start to buy some tools. Like you see there, Zendesk. A new cloud starts to emerge. We call it a support cloud. And over time, I think bigger issues start to happen. Now the developers start to get in. And this needs to include on-calls and escalations and things like that, and you start calling it L3 and L4. And that is now the emergence of a new cloud called the support cloud. Now this starts to really get interesting, because in the last couple of years, and now in the next 3 to 5 years, many of these L1, L2 calls will get fielded by a chatbot, which is actually running where the user is hanging out and spending most of their time. And of course, there's more data coming from these users. There's click streams, there's session recordings, there's crash dumps, and things are now getting beefier, bigger, for this company that started out with 3 to 5 people. So now you have a user cloud, and tons of data. Everybody wants to understand what's going on with them, why do we have churn, and so on. And very quickly, we actually have a marketing cloud, a sales cloud, and now you have people hanging out in their own little tribes. Everybody wants to work. Salespeople working, marketing people working, engineering working, support folks working, product people working, users working. Everybody is interested in work. And if you look at this growth cloud, at some level, it is exactly where the rest of the company is. There's a visitor on a website, they become a lead. The lead becomes a sales contact. Contact becomes a trial user, a paid user. A new cloud emerges, customer success cloud. And all of a sudden, you want to really get them engaged, make them an advocate, and sometimes you see them churn. You see how fragmented this whole world is? For the same identity, for the same user, there's so much that's going on. People are trying to track all this. And those folks are struggling for product analytics because they want to understand what's really happening with the product. So what do you see now is the initial idea, the pristine idea of a founder with code and being in unison and being happy about what they'd actually come to form, is now all these clouds. And all of a sudden, there's also production cloud. There's incidents, and incidents supposed to be handled by support folks and developers. So in many ways, I go back, sorry. This is what we have created. It's a monstrosity. There's so many things here, so many tools, so many nouns, so many verbs, so many meetings, so many emails and Slack channels. But what's missing from here is the product and the customer. The two things that really mattered, the product and the customer. Most people here, especially in the front office, they're very much unaware of what the product is. And most people in the back office are unaware of who the customer is. And the whole essence of what a company stands for between the product and the customer is lost. So this is an opportunity that we thought we really need to look at holistically and say, and you'll see this Y-shaped thing being pervasive in all our presentations and our storytelling, because we believe we should start with why. Is really a knowledge graph. At some level, there's a big opportunity for us to really say, look, if we can really center everything around the product and the customer, we can really stitch it back together again. So this complexity that one had come to create can be simplified if you left shift a lot of this integration around the product and around the customer. And to speak a little bit more about that, I want to talk about incumbencies, because one could say, well, so are you saying that you're going to get rid of all these tools and just use the DevRev? And this is where the humility of DevRev really comes in. We're like, look, we got to stick around all these incumbent tools, but figure out a way to really sync with us in real time. What does it mean for them to sync with us? Let's at least start to understand if we can start engaging and become more intelligent for them, while the record could actually exist in the Jira, could exist in GitHub and in Slack and Zendesk and Salesforce and HubSpot and so on. So to speak more about this, like what does it mean for us to really connect this knowledge graph together and bring it all together from existing systems? I want to invite my colleague Aditi Mishra on stage. Aditi. So Aditi, what's this Airdrop thing?
Give me 1 second to get situated. Can you all hear me okay? Thumbs up?
Maybe a little louder?
Yes, I can be a little bit louder. There we go. Okay, so what is Airdrop? For all you Android users in the crowd, I assume there's about 2 of you here. Don't worry, our Airdrop has nothing to do with Apple. Airdrop is how you natively bring in data from your existing apps into DevRev. You'll notice on this screen a lot of the apps that you just saw on the past slide. And these are just migrations that we've done into this DevRev instance from all those apps. So what this really represents is hundreds of thousands of dollars that you could instead spend on ETL, both people as well as tooling. I'm going to show you in a moment here how DevRev has changed the game. Just to really drive home the point of how easy it is to migrate data into DevRev, we're going to kick off an import live. So our import today is from Too Much Effort Jira. Into DevRev. And while that's running, while we're bringing in your product and engineering data from Jira, I'll show you an import that we did just yesterday from Salesforce Service Cloud. So that's your sales as well as your customer support data.
So what are we looking at here, Aditi?
On the left side here, you see we imported a few thousand objects, but this could really be millions of records. So if you think about the muck that has accumulated in your CRMs and your systems of record over years, if not decades, the stale data, the thousands of tags, the custom attributes and objects, all that junk that lives in your systems, that slows down your business, that slows down your teams, we take that and we detox it and we create a knowledge graph in DevRev. You may have noticed here, oh, sorry, 1 second. So you may have noticed here that DevRev Airdrop is actually so easy to use that even Mark Benioff can use it. And it only took him 7 minutes to complete this import. Let's check on the import that we just kicked off. So in the few minutes that I spent talking to you, maybe even 1 minute, we imported about 15,000 objects from Jira. And now all that's left to do is finalize a few things, decide what we want to keep, map a few fields, and then we're done. Your business may have millions of records that you need to import. That should only take a few hours. And in those few hours, we do what would have otherwise taken months of professional services, endless consulting dollars, and a huge toll on you and your team. These old processes rob your business of resources, energy, time, money that could be spent on your customers. We'll show you a little bit later today how this data that we import into our app breathes life into our product, but for now, that is how, with DevRev, you can create your knowledge graph and make B2B software migrations effortless.
Thank you. Thank you, Aditi. This is... Thank you, Aditi, for doing this. And definitely for us as a company, the knowledge graph is a start. The core of everything that we do going forward with AI and analytics will come down to data engineering. And many companies, the SaaS companies the last 20 years, they've actually stopped short at data. They'll say, look, here's my tribe, here's my object model, here's my APIs. Now you go figure how you want to integrate with this, the rest of the stuff. And for us, we really said, look, we got to really bring it back to product and the customer. And it's our job to really do data engineering in real time across all these systems so that we can do two-way syncs. You know, stuff that is updated in DevRev, updates Salesforce back or Jira back, and vice versa, if you want to actually stay next to Jira for a while. But what's really important, and this is an opportunity that we saw, was that stopping at data wouldn't help because data is not information. At some level, the anomalies, the correlations, the patterns, everything that you want to ask of data is not information. And there's some, the left brain and the right brain of information, these data structures are emerging. I mean, cloud data warehouses in the last 5 years, obviously SQL in the last 30, 35 years, people have used to really go analyze stuff. But the cloud data warehouse, last 5 years of phenomenon, which has made it fairly easy for people to go and build warehouses and SQL models, but also large language models for semantic search. These things were not something that any SaaS company had to think hard about. They actually left it as a problem that you had to go solve for. And that, to us, is a big opportunity. The fact that we can take all this data that we've actually come to gather and bring it all back into these two data structures. The left brain of analytics, because why should you go and spend millions of dollars around support data, product data, engineering data, sales data, chat data, if we can left shift that for you? So that's one of the goals for DevRev, is to take all this data that we have engineered and brought together from different systems, part of it which could be owned by us and part of it that could be owned by these legacy systems. We bring it all together, give you analytics that's straight out of the box. And of course, really think about search. One of the hardest problems that has been in the enterprise for the last 20 years in SaaS has been around search. And semantic search is the core of that. But we also didn't want to stop there. We said, look, unless we really were to go and redesign the apps, because at the core of all these verbs that you see, like summarize and rephrase and cluster and classify and communicate and route and attribute and finally generate, these verbs just cannot be done in existing apps that we have today. We'll really have to redesign this because design and AI are really the yin and yang of each other. To really do AI right, you got to have design, and to have design right now going forward with suggestions, recommendations, auto-complete, auto-deduplicate. There's so many things that we need to do auto-on that it couldn't be retrofitted on existing apps.